Good morning and welcome to today's presentation. This presentation is being recorded and you will receive a copy of the replay. My name is Tara Sewell and I'm an internal wholesaler here at Financial Markets. I've been in the financial services industry for nearly 10 years, and this industry provides so much to the Americans it serves. But not only that, it also provides my family with a substantial part of our household income. Maintaining a healthy financial services industry is so important to the future of this great nation, individual investors, as well as the livelihood of all of you on the call today. This call is being sponsored by Financial Markets, and we thank you for joining us. Visit our website at fmiAgent.com to learn more about our firm. Financial Markets is a wholesale, fixed annuity, and fixed life insurance brokerage serving independent producers and advisors across the nation. Today, 24 states are being represented on this call, and we provide producers and advisors access to over 30 insurance carriers with unmatched service from pre-sale to underwriting, cutting-edge technology solutions, and in-force policy management. On the screen are the general product categories we offer, but it goes much deeper than this. With the personal relationships we develop with our carriers, producers, and advisors, we are a partner in your success. For those who have not consulted with Financial Markets in the past, we invite you to connect with one of our internal wholesalers. Call us today to learn more about the services we can provide to elevate your practice, or email us with a time that's good for us to contact you. For those of you on the call today with a current relationship with our firm, thank you for your business. Continuing our commitment to this industry, Financial Markets is proudly part of and affiliated with the following organizations. We are continually invested in the success of not only the producers and advisors who choose to do business with our firm, but the industry as a whole. One of the prestigious organizations we're part of is NAILBA, which is also part of the Finseca community. Finseca's mission is financial security for all. Finseca members provide holistic planning to help families achieve financial security and ensure they will not outlive their savings. Today, we're honored to be joined by Dan LaBert of Finseca. He is the President of Brokerage and EVP of Member Experience. He is the Strategic Association Executive with diverse industry experience. He is the CEO of the National Association of Independent Life Brokerage Agencies. Thank you, Dan, for joining us today.
Thanks, Tara. I'm going to show my screen here and appreciate everything you guys are doing and for having me here. I hope I'm not going to ruin anyone's breakfast or lunch, because some of the information I'm going to share about what the Department of Labor's Fiduciary Rule 3.0 is attempting to do is upsetting, stomach upsetting. It's aggressive, it's offensive. But we're going to get to kind of where we are right now. And I was just on the Hill 2 weeks ago, meeting with members of Congress and members of Senate, getting their direct feedback about this. Some of it's good, some of it's not so good, but that's part of what I do with Finseca. Obviously, I was Chief Executive Officer for NAILBA. Many of you recognize NAILBA, 300 plus broker general agencies, 10,000 advisors attached to it, part of all the IMOs and aligned, and then we merged in 2022 for threats like this. So the timing could not be any better. But before I go down the path of the overly aggressive proposal from the Department of Labor, let's just kind of talk about where we are, who we are, and how we got to where we are. So on your screen now, you'll see just a clip from Ernst & Young, and this study that Ernst & Young did has sort of been our North Star that came out in 2021. But what it boils down to is when consumers have holistic financial plans, it's proven they get a better result, right? And that could be a number of things, right? That could be a little bit of life insurance, a little bit of fixed annuities, some final expense, long-term care, whatever it is better for the consumer. It gives them the financial security that they need should anything happen. And it's a great example of what this noble profession is all about. Now, not everyone believes that, right? There's a bias against this notion of holistic financial plans. There are so-called experts out there, and my least favorite one here on your screen would be in the upper right from the white coat investor. They talk, they like to talk about Susie Orman and the like, and they talk about how consumers need to do anything but buy permanent life insurance, and certainly for Pete's sake, don't buy an annuity, because they all went to like the Fisher School of Journalism, and it's absolutely outrageous. But it's there, it exists. It's the headwind that we as a profession have to deal with, and we also have to deal with people who generate these headlines, like the CFP. Now, I'm not saying if you have a CFP credential that this is bad, right? But this is the CFP and the message that they sent when they were at the White House when President Biden released the Fiduciary Rule 3.0, and quote, the CFP welcomed this proposed rule intended to protect Americans from the harmful effects of conflict of interest. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know how we get commissions into conflict of interest when there's all this other regulation and all this other layers of compliance out there that protect the consumer, that was voted for by members of Congress and Senate and adjusted to throughout the space. But it's just, here's one more piece, right? So on your screen now is a poll from Gallup, right? And it talks about our brand reputation. We're slightly above members of Congress and car salesmen. So in the terms of the public view of what you all do for a living, and candidly what I do for a living, because I'm sure as hell proud to be in this space since 2017, but this is the reality of the public perceptions of our profession and why we continue to be attacked. Now, this is why Finseca was formed, right? Here's a noble profession that's out to protect financial security for everyone, not just this person, that group, or whatever. It's financial security for all, Finseca. So then why is it that we are being attacked, right? So I like to have a little bit of fun here, right? It's I put the phonetics in here on the presentation. It's Finseca, right? Some people like to say Finesca, which sounds like a great canned soda. I guess that would be Fresca, but it's Finseca, right? And it goes back to getting away from all of the alphabet soup acronyms that, for years going up on the Hill, they'd say, who are you with? And you'd spout off 3, 4, 5-letter acronym, and no one knew what it was for. And then we had to tie it all together, and there was just different lines, and we weren't building scale for a strong enough voice. So a number of years ago, just like 3 or 4, Finseca was formed. It was formed by AALU. For those of you in the advanced market space, you'll recognize it. And Gamma, which has was always known for professional development at its highest level, an outstanding LAMP conference it was more on the career side, but middle managers and leaders in their professional development. And then lo and behold, in 2022, Nelba joined Finseca, and then Forum 400 also joined Finseca. Our value is broken down into 4 pillars. It is the elevate, accelerate, advocate, and educate. Today we're going to talk about more on the advocate side, about just what's going on with the federal legislation. But there's also other reasons for value around Finseca, right? It's the accelerate pillar, which is all the things we put in your inbox or watch on video to kind of keep sharp the professional development, the events we put on together. Obviously, I speak from the Nelba event. It's the largest brokerage event in the country. It's for brokerage, by brokerage, and if you're in brokerage, you need to be there. We have the upcoming Finseca Advanced Market Space, which is everything from PPLI, COLI, BOLI, executive non-qualified deferred comp, executive benefits, you name it. It's where the professional development takes place. So with all this good that we're doing, right, and we know we had this brand reputation issue, and that's why we helped develop and partnered with Forbes and Shook on the top financial security professionals, which has a whole host of criteria that demonstrates the value of the advisor, how much he or she is producing, how many families, candidly, they're protecting, how many widows, how many children are in a stronger position as a result of the top financial security professionals working with the American consumers and getting them the financial protection we deserve. The Forbes top financial security professionals research, that was the first of its kind, and then through Finseca, Shook, and then Forbes partnering together to launch it. So that's the quick background on Finseca, and I really hope you're all members, and if you're not, you should consider joining. because right now what we're going to talk about is direct returns on your investment. It's protecting what you do and who you protect, the American consumers, away from harmful, aggressive proposals like the DOL Fiduciary Rule 3.0. So there we have it. President Biden, your commissions are junk fees, right? And state regulation is inadequate. So let's break that down. First, we have the junk fees part, which is part of the Biden White House agenda. And I'm not here to trash President Biden. I will always respect the presidency. I just don't like this specific legislation that they're coming out with. Commissions are not junk fees, but that is a very aggressive statement that came from the White House. And more importantly, I think it's kind of absurd that, you know, for all these years, insurance has been regulated state to state. That's why we have individual insurance commissioners for each state. That's why we have the NAIC. That's why we have the best interest plan that came out from the NAIC that 40 states have adopted, and add another layer of compliance to ensure the consumer is protected, especially around commissions. Now, I'm not here to say fees are bad. Fees are very good in certain situations. Maybe the person is looking for a very specific, customized, holistic financial plan, and you know that takes time. But you know there are other stories, and I'll share a very personal one that was not baked into this presentation, but it happened to me just a few weeks ago. That had the commission not been there, it would have been a different result. So before I share that story, let's just talk about what the Fiduciary 3.0 key takeaways are. This rule seeks to make everybody a fiduciary under ERISA. I am not an expert on ERISA, but what I do know is commissions are not allowed under ERISA unless you have a prohibited transactions exemptions, a PTE. So this throws out 8424. You know, that no longer is an option for most career advisors, sure like a lot of independent advisors, and it seeks to put everyone in the securities umbrella. So PTE 2020-02 based in securities is the new governance model for that. So here's the timeline. Now let's talk about this timeline, because this is where I can come across and justify why I'm using the words offensive or aggressive. So on September 8th, the DOL sent this to the White House. We were watching it. It was fast-tracked through, and then it was published in the Federal Register by November 3rd. That is when the DOL came out and said there's only going to be a 60-day comment period. The comment period also happened to take place over Jewish holiday, over Christmas, over New Year's, and all comments being submitted by January 2nd. Now, a 60-day comment period is not unheard of, but in most cases, 90 to 120 day is your traditional comment period. So clearly there was an aggressive plan with a very specific timing about how this was going to be released, right? Kind of hoping for people being asleep at the wheel. The holidays are going on, so no one's really paying attention to it. And clearly this goes back from Fiduciary Rule 1.0 and then 2.0. So clearly legal at Department of Labor was just trying to find the best timing to ramrod this through. Now, Finseca, watching it, not definitely being aggressive with reaching out to members of Senate, having a coalition of the members of the Senate reach out to the DOL, send a letter asking for an extension of time. That was denied. Members of Congress, 30, 40 members, that letter was denied. So clearly they're pushing this through. Right now, what's happening is the DOL is reviewing all the comments that they received via our action alerts, via the public, and there were about, I want to say approximately 22,000 comments received. Now the DOL has to review each of those comments and then send a final package over to OMB, and they can't do that until all comments are reviewed. But they are pushing through that right now. So what's happening here is the DOL could release their final rule by April or May with a 60-day implementation period. If that's the case, and I say this tongue-in-cheek to a certain degree, adjust all of your fixed annuity sales projections for this year. Now, again, I mentioned I was on Capitol Hill, and I just share some photos of me, my team, our colleagues, the leadership team that I'm a part of, our CEO, Mark Caden. We've been shaking the trees about this. I was in with Congressman David Scott from Georgia. He's a Democrat, and he fired off a letter with a number of his colleagues just talking about, obviously he did it in a much more eloquent way than how I'm coming across, but he just talked about how absurd this extra layer or this proposal really is landing, and how people will be harmed as a result. So as part of that meeting, I said to the team, will you take a no fund vote? And he said, no, absolutely not. We will not take a no fund vote. And what I'm talking about here is, given that we are in the 11th hour, you could pass legislation, but if the funding is not there to push it through, then it's not happening. And that's a pretty strong and aggressive Hail Mary at the end. But what Congressman Scott's office did say is that we will take a no funds vote if there is a combined impact study on this proposal. Now, here we are, 2024. The last 5 years has been a learning experience for many, and and successful groups have all come to the realization that data-driven decision-making is the best way to go, right? It's that way we're not guessing, we're not using anything old, we are going off of real live data to make our decisions. Somehow that lesson did not move over to the Department of Labor, because their impact study is from 2016. Now, what has happened in the space since 2016? We could have plenty of sodas at the bar and talk about and probably still not get through everything that's happened in this space since 2016. But somehow, a fiduciary rule 3.0 feels that the 2016 data is enough to move this through. Needless to say, as we met with other members of Congress and we shared the information that we're receiving, and they were made aware of the impact study not being done, there are ways that people are starting to weigh in more, hold this up, make some changes, and hopefully get it to a point that it's somewhat palatable. But here's probably the biggest story that I could share, and this is not baked into the proposal. This is real life, and this is as a result of what you do. Very difficult for me, but about 3-4 weeks ago, my father passed away. Unexpected. Listen, the guy was 85 years old, but you know what? I'm 48, and I don't care how old your mom or dad is. You're just never ready for them to go, especially when they're walking, talking, moving around, living their lives like there's no other issue, and their numbers are fantastic, right? Because every month is a doctor's appointment as you get older. At least that's my life. And sadly, my father passed away. It was January 13th. Now, I'm the youngest of 5, and from an Italian Irish Catholic family, and it doesn't matter that I'm in the space. I'm still the youngest, and I don't get exposure to dad's retirement folder, right? So once we get everything taken care of, I find out there's a final expense policy, so that was great. And my mom comes to me and she hands me the envelope and she says, "Danny, I need you to take a look at this. I don't know what I'm going to do. This is your dad's retirement plan. You know how private he was. He really didn't share it." And I'm looking at it and I'm going through it, and I'm seeing that in the late 90s, my dad, he's a blue collar guy, blue collar family, walked into a advisor's office, and he had all his notes there and talked about what the commission is going to be and how it's going to be paid. And like I said, I'm not saying fees are bad, but my family is your atypical American family, right? Irish Italian makes for a great temper, also makes for great dinner on Sundays. But ultimately, my father, who would never have paid a $2,500, $3,500, $4,500 fee, not to mention to implement a holistic plan, he was able to get the security he needs. Now, mind you, he probably could have made some better choices. Some variable products throughout, the early 2000s was not exactly the best idea. But either way, he gave my family financial security. I'll say this as a side note, kind of a tongue-in-cheek joke. For 7-8 years in the space, I didn't even recognize the insurance company. I sent it around to a number of people. They didn't recognize it either. It was good. It was legitimate. It was actually a PNC that had a DBA doing some life and annuities. But ultimately, after 2 very stressful weeks, not to mention mourning the loss of my father, my mother's income is taken care of. He had a fixed annuity. He had a guaranteed rider, life income rider there. So my mom's for the rest of her life, she's 83. She has the financial security she needs to live her life, to go to doctor's appointments, to go out and be part of the Lions Club and do all that kind of stuff that she did with my dad. But if my dad didn't do that, there's no way my mother would be secure. And here I am, the CEO, former CEO of Nelba, president of independent distribution for Finseca, and I'm going through this real life scenario on top of trying to mourn the loss of my dad. And I'm sitting there in a representative's office on the Hill, and I'm telling her this story. And it was that moved her in saying, I'm calling the White House. This is crazy. We can't let this happen. And that's part of the challenge of Finseca, right? It's getting people on the front lines in their communities to call their member of Congress, to call their member of Senate and say, this is not right. This is who it's impacting. As if the 10 million Americans in 2016, when 2.0 was around and some of the things that came out of that, the 10 million Americans who were harmed by it. And let's talk about the past while we're at it. So in the past, when NALU was around, if for those of you who may remember, 150,000 members of NALU. It was a unified voice, just like what Finseca is trying to do. And when there was a threat to inside buildup, of taxing inside buildup, that threat was killed. Since that time, though, we've all like kind of splintered in different ways. Every organization kind of formed, and I'm obviously Nelba was part of it, and I'm very, very proud of being the CEO of Nelba. It's one of the best jobs I've ever had in my life. But still, we were splintered. Our voice wasn't as strong. And here we are for the fourth time in 13 years, and the DOL is trying to advance their fiduciary only rule. So the profession is fragmented. The future, we have to come together to unite as a profession and ensure that these threats stop. We are a noble profession. You are a profession. And that's what's being missed and what's being killed about our brand identity. Now, in the spirit of always be selling, if you're not a member of Finseca, I encourage you to do so. There's the code on your screen. You get a little discount. That's courtesy of the relationship with FMI here. They're them bringing us in, allowing us to present to you. We want to extend the favor back to you guys to join Finseca and candidly help us beat back this fiduciary rule 3.0. Now, if you're in the advanced market space, I mentioned it earlier, our advanced market meeting is coming up. COLI, BOLI, deferred comp, high end, high net worth advisors. We're talking about their life insurance sales, annuity sales, things like that. But here's also why I wanted this slide in there, not just to say we need you to come to advanced markets. Of course we do, but look at the timing, and we didn't plan this obviously, but look at the timing of Finseca Advanced Markets, May 22nd to the 24th in Washington, D.C. Now, let me go back to that timeline. DOL could release their final rule by April, May with a 60-day implementation period. As part of Advanced Markets, we're going back up the hill. We're going to see what we can do to stop it. Now, we are prepared to take this battle back into the Fifth Circuit and fight it legally. This is what we did in 2016. This is why Fiduciary Rule 2.0 didn't happen as planned. We had a 2-to-1 vote coming out of the Fifth Circuit, but that 2-to-1 vote could quickly go the other direction this time around. Clearly, they're doing their homework with their timing. They're doing their homework with their shortened implementation period. So this is a very, very aggressive strategy to move this through, which presents a clear and present danger to our profession and candidly to American consumers. We could just, while I'm here obviously to present, I want you to be part of Finseca. I want you to come to advanced markets, but more importantly, I want you to know about Fiduciary Rule 3.0. And if my comments are not enough, well then do your own research. Just look at the sales of annuities in 2023 across the country versus the state of New York. And then you'll know where this is going. We don't want that to happen. We don't want to see consumers harmed by yet another poorly thought out, no study done rule, but this is the reality and this is moving. So we need your help. We need you to become part of Finseca. We need you at the Advanced Markets Conference. We need you calling your members of Congress and Senate. We need you shaking the trees. It's the only way to stop this before it gets to the legal battle that we will have to face. Now, I know there was a lot of questions that came in, and we provided the team at FMI with a 1-page takeaway or 2-page takeaway that they're going to send around that will answer a lot of the questions. If there's more questions, we just get them back to Ed, and we'll go through them for you. But to Tara, that's about does it for me. That covers the high level version of what Fiduciary Rule 3.0 is. I'm sorry if I ruined anyone's lunch, but this is the reality of where we are and how we're trying to beat it back.
Call us today to learn more about the services we can provide to elevate your practice, or email us with a time that's good for us to contact you.
So that'll do it for me, unless there are any questions you would like me to dive deeper into.
Thank you, Dan, for sharing with us and kind of opening our eyes to some things that maybe we didn't already know. As questions come in, I don't have anything additional than what we had sent you, and we'll certainly get that flyer sent out to everyone following this presentation. If you have any additional questions, you can email marketing@fmiAgent.com, and one of our internal wholesalers will reach out to you to address that question. Dan, again, thank you for your time today, and thank you to everyone on the call. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, everyone.